we're going to do is basically it's just a test pilot,
Okay.
so that we can check the background, we can just say hi to you,
Okay.
and be able to have something to go on with an appointment that we'll make for really the pre-interview that'll happen next week sometime.
All right.
Does that sound fine?
Sure.
Yeah.
Good.
So this is sort of the pilot interview. You're the first interviewee, and it's the pilot project.
Oh, great.
So it's going to be the best one.
Oh, great. Don't know about that. I may knock out the system or something.
So Fran, one of the exciting things about this program is that we're going to have a couple of students from Santa Barbara City College trained in the art and science of interviewing. And Jeff has these skills. He's created many different works where he's interviewed folks successfully, and it's been preserved. And the goal is to have him transfer some of these skills to the foster youth that are going to City College, because they really are survivors and achievers. They're going beyond adversity, and they're going to be able to come to Garden Court, learn these skills from Jeff, and then meet with a resident like yourself and be able to ask you the interview questions and engage in dialogue about your amazing experiences. And that's where 3 different groups are coming together. The Rotary Club that Jeff and I are involved with, Garden Court, the whole community, and the Guardian Scholars, these amazing students.
It sounds great.
Okay. And your ability to tell stories is well known all around town. And just tell us briefly, about a lot of people in town were familiar with, say, your restaurant and nightclub. Could you just give a brief summary about your experience with that nightclub, those golden years with Oscars? That would be terrific.
With Oscars?
Sure.
Oh, Oscars was great. We had a lot of great musicians in there, and they got their early start there. And it was the breaking ground for many of them, because they could come in and do their, their gig there, and then go up to San Francisco. But that they were a little bit more ready for that next big step, because they had, come to a smaller venue.
Mm-hmm. What were some of your favorite performers?
Of course, Kenny Loggins, came from here, and he was always great. Let me think. Huey
Lewis?
Lewis,
Oh,
Huey
yeah.
Lewis,
Mm-hmm.
in the news. He got his start kind of there. And who was some more? Oh my gosh. So many good ones. Some I would like to forget, like the Chili Peppers.
You didn't like the Red Hot Chili Peppers?
Oh, they did a little damage.
Oh.
They could tear up the place.
Really had some loud
Yeah.
music and tear up the place a little.
Joe, I want to say Becker. That's
Yeah,
what
Joe
his name-
Cocker?
Joe Cocker.
Uh-huh.
He called me Little Mama. He was cute, yeah. I think I told this before. I went to pick him up out at the airport. He said, "You ain't going to put me in no damn little hotel, are you?"
And did you find a place that he was satisfied with?
He was satisfied. Yeah, I'd put him in right down the street on, it was past about Mission and State Street.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember the name of that hotel there.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Something
yeah,
Lodge.
the Lemon Tree?
Not the Lemon Tree, before the Lemon Tree.
Okay.
Up this way farther.
Okay.
But anyway, it was pretty good.
Okay.
He stayed there. He didn't do too much complaining.
How about the Queen of England? She was going to come visit your nightclub.
Yes, she was. And we had to get prepared for that for days. We were all interviewed on that, all of my staff. There was just certain ones I could have. And we had to shut down to do all of this interviewing. and things. They got up on the roof and checked us all the way around. This went on, and I lost quite a bit of business, by having to shut down. And then at the last minute, she decided that she wasn't coming.
Mm-hmm.
There.
After all that.
The talent sometimes.
So me and the Queen of Elizabeth don't quite get along.
Did you ever meet Paul Newman? Or there was some individual that you told me a story about when you met them.
Oh, yes. I was walking along our bar area and went to go into the dining room. And I saw this gentleman sitting there, so I just leaned down and asked him if I could get him a drink. And oh my God, those blue eyes, they just stunned me. And the bar was just right there. And I went over to the bar. I could not even remember what he had ordered. I mean, it wasn't 2 feet away. And I had to go back and ask him again. I mean, Finally, I just said, well, I'm not the regular waitress, in here.
Mm-hmm.
But he just floored me. Those eyes, oh my God. They were so blue.
You couldn't remember what he ordered.
They just took you in. I could not remember what he ordered 2 feet away.
Yeah, oh, that's wonderful.
But one of my big experiences wasn't there. It was back in Wichita, Kansas, when I met, not Kennedy, but who was running with the guy that we didn't like.
Well, there was Nixon.
Okay, past Nixon. Oh my God, why can't I remember this man? Oh, the one that just was gorgeous, too.
Are you talking about Reagan?
No, I guess it was Kennedy.
Oh. Well, was he a Republican or was he
No,
Democrat?
he was a Democrat.
Was a Democrat? Well, gosh. I would...
He was running with Nixon.
He was running, well, let's see.
He was running with
Barry
Nixon.
Goldwater, and there was Kennedy, and...
It was Kennedy.
Okay.
Yeah,
John
it was
F.
Kennedy.
Okay.
Because, oh my gosh, I saw him, and I can remember what he ordered. Scotch on the rocks.
And this was in Wichita?
This was in Wichita, Kansas.
Oh, okay.
They had a country club there that I worked. And he came in, he was so gracious, so nice. And I went around and told everybody, I don't care who you're voting for, I'm telling you now who you're voting for. And I really hadn't paid much attention to politics.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, I should have, but I didn't. Until I met him. And then I became a staunch Democrat. He was gorgeous, too, yeah.
So he was on the campaign trail at that
He was
time.
on the campaign trail.
Oh, wow. Is that where you're from, Wichita, Kansas?
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. And what brought you to California?
My husband wanted to come out here because of the weather.
Mm-hmm.
He was working back there for Boeing. And just at that time we were having blizzards. They don't seem to have them anymore. Like that, the weather has changed all around.
Mm-hmm.
And they just don't have the cold weather anymore like they had. But that was the reason we came out here.
Mm-hmm.
I really didn't want to. I had a great job. I did not want to give it up. But I did. The kids wanted to come out here too, the girls. So that's what brought us to California.
And in Wichita, what was your first job? Was your first job in a restaurant?
No.
No?
You really want to know?
Yeah, well, I'm interested how Oscars was founded and when it was founded and how you got interested
Well, no,
in that.
the first job I ever had was in a potato chip factory.
Mm-hmm.
And I got fired. And then I became a waitress.
Mm-hmm.
But in that potato chip factory, you had to put these potato chips in a sack, and it was horrible. And I put too many potato chips in all the time. This is before, the technology and everything they have nowadays. They can throw those potato chips in that sack, with machinery. But at that time, they boil the potatoes there and everything in this factory, and it stank.
Really? Was it a kind of like an I Love Lucy scenario?
It definitely was that.
Where the potato
And
chips are going by
I
and slap
definitely,
fast?
yes, definitely. I sure felt for her when she did that because I thought, oh my God, that's the way it was.
Those chocolate.
They kept giving me chances, but I just couldn't do it. I put too many potato chips in the sack.
You're too generous with the
I
potato
was
chips.
too generous. Well, you'd be surprised how few potato chips are in those sacks.
I think half of it's air usually. Well, I'm glad you were packing the potato chips at one point.
But anyway, I went into waitress work
Mm-hmm.
right after that and stayed in it all my life.
And stayed in all your life.
Mm-hmm.
And how did Oscars come about? When was it founded, and who? How was
Well,
that started?
that was really my girls.
Okay.
And that was mainly Lauren that wanted this, the nightclub. I didn't know, much about that at all. And my girls ran that. I ran the restaurant, but they really ran the nightclub.
So when did you first open the restaurant?
In 1981,
Mm-hmm.
and I kept it till 87. My husband died in 85, and I struggled the next 2 years. The nightclub did good,
Mm-hmm.
but I had trouble with the landlord at 1129. So
And how many daughters? You mentioned daughters. How many daughters?
I have 4, but 3 of them worked in the restaurant.
So it's a real family-run business.
Definitely.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
And your daughters like the idea of the nightclub to,
Yes.
to add on
Yeah,
to the restaurant. Restaurant
yes,
came first.
Yeah, the restaurant came first. But we had music in 1129, too.
Okay.
We always had, and that was local bands and things that we had there. When we moved over into the nightclub, of course, we got big bands, or bigger bands,
Wonderful.
So, yeah.
Yeah, 1129 Nosters is really just a lot like Soho is now.
Yes, it is.
It was the center for music and fun and
And
family
also, a lot of the acts that played it in our nightclub are now playing out at the Bowl
All right. Wonderful.
because the manager that we had to help us, put on the acts and things, he is now working out at the Bowl.
Oh, is that
So
right?
that was his next job. But he got his start with Oscars, too. So
How about the name Oscar? Who is Oscar?
he was my dog.
Ah!
He was a dachshund. And we sat around trying to think of names. We thought of Charlie, we thought of Fran. Nothing fit. Girls kept throwing things, and I don't know, I just happened to look. My husband was sitting there holding the dog. I said, how about Oscars? And it just fit. We said, yeah.
Awesome.
And did any of your children stay in the dining and entertainment business? Did they continue on to open any others, or?
Lauren did.
Lauren
one
did.
daughter. And she went up to San Francisco and worked for a big club up there. But it was too cold for her.
It was too cold.
It was too cold for
Yeah.
her. And she didn't like San Francisco.
Okay.
So she came down and she worked in Ventura for a while with the Ventura club there that they have. And then she got out of it.
And then she got out of it.
Yeah, it was too hard. Yeah.
Hmm. Is there any other questions that I could ask about Oscars and about that experience? You mentioned some of the big names there. What was the daily life like working with family?
Oh, I'll tell you who came in one time.
Oh, okay.
Was Bruce Springsteen. That just blew us away when he came walking into our club. A lot of people didn't know him, but he wanted to be quiet. But oh my God, my one daughter, she was about the way I was with Paul Newman when she saw him, because he's her favorite. Yeah.
Absolutely. You got some
Yeah.
really big Red Hot Chili Peppers, Bruce Springsteen. You guys had some big names come through Santa
We
Barbara.
really did, and if I could sit here and think of them, yeah.
Yeah.
If you weren't asking me like this,
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. No problem. No pressure here. That is amazing. The names that you came through that restaurant.
Oh, it
That's
was.
just- yeah.
It really was, the names that we had there.
And were you surprised when some of those names started coming through the club?
Yeah, and our first incident with one big act, I don't remember who he was, but we didn't draw that night. We just didn't draw. And me with the money, you know, I'm thinking, we're not going to make it.
Mm-hmm.
So I talked to the guy and said something about, we're not going to make it. He said, Deary, that's your problem, not mine. I did my job.
Yeah.
I came and I performed, and, you know.
Yeah.
If you didn't have the people, that's not my fault.
Yeah. It's sort of, so you had to do some more advertising.
So I
then?
learned.
You learned.
Believe me, we learned from that.
Yeah. What was some of the lessons from that in terms of, was it advertising more or?
Advertising more.
Yeah.
Lowering the price.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Some good lessons.
Mm-hmm.
And the house.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Obviously, you learned quickly because you got all those big names.
We learned quickly.
Yeah, and adapted and everything.
Yes, we did.
Yeah. So I want to get into the daily life at Oscars more with the family working there. Was it one daughter you mentioned worked with the nightclub, and you had experience with waitressing?
Mm-hmm.
How about some of the other family?
2 daughters that actually worked the nightclub.
Oh, 2 daughters work the nightclub.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Because I work with a family business as well. I work with my grandfather every day.
Really?
I'm in his office. Yeah, and
How'd that work out?
it's great. I'm still there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
good.
he's 95 years old, and we have a
Really?
good time together. Yeah.
Yeah.
Same thing on mom's side of the family. So I'm interested in the family business stories because it's a interesting, fun, and sometimes challenging environment. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
We had some moments, you know, some little disagreements and things along the way.
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, I know, Fran, that you haven't been feeling well, and thank you so much for taking a few moments. So this gives us an opportunity to just get a sense of how the equipment works, something about the stories, and we can perhaps schedule a time to meet with you in the next week or two.
Okay.
So that we can talk about questions. If you want to maybe think about special things that you feel would be really good to talk about that you're passionate about. Some of the points you already brought up are really exciting. A lot of people will enjoy them. But reflect on other things that you think of that you think, this is pretty interesting too. I don't get to tell this very often because we're all ears. We love, you have had such an incredible life and you're such a great storyteller. So think about that.
Well, it's getting kind of hard to remember a lot of things.
Well, the funny thing is that when we have a chance to meet and speak, you come up with one story after the next, and sometimes it's hard when you're sitting here on camera. But I've heard just 5 or 6 entirely different stories that have the whole table enthralled. People laughing and really appreciating it. So just reflect a little bit, and I might even ask Sandy and some other folks, say, what's your favorite Fran story?
Okay.
And we can share that information, and then put together some questions that can be used and integrated into Jeff's style, and get one step closer to actually doing the formal interview. Does that sound okay?
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
So we have sort of
Okay.
we have a topic to talk about because you have so many experiences. We want to focus on maybe a select, like maybe like Oscars, or maybe like your life in Wichita, you know, because you could talk for hours, but we want to accomplish and have one topic covered in our time together, whether it's your pets, your children, Oscars. That way it can be a little bit more focused.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does that sound good?
Wonderful.
Okay.
Really exciting.
Give it a try.
You
That was
helped
great.
us so much.
Okay.
And especially to be able, when you're taking, this is supposed to be your